Have you ever finished a book, closed the cover, and just sat there for a minute thinking, wow, how did they do that? How do some stories just stick with you for years while you forget others almost immediately? Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're going to go on a little journey to find the secret recipe behind those absolutely unforgettable stories. So, what are the ingredients? Let's find out.
Okay, so here's our treasure map for this whole thing. First up, we're going to talk about what even makes literature different from, say, your email inbox. Then we'll get into the good stuff, the 5 key ingredients that give great stories their incredible power.
So, first things first, we all know deep down that a great novel feels completely different from the assembly instructions for a new chair, right? But why? What is that fundamental difference?
Well, it really all boils down to purpose. Functional writing, like a report or a manual, it just wants to give you one clear, undeniable piece of information. Get from point A to point B. But literature? Oh, it's playing a completely different game. It wants to create an experience. It loves ambiguity and uses language not just to inform, but to build something beautiful. It turns words into art.
Okay, so that leads us right to the big question, right? If literature is an art form, then what is the secret recipe? What are the special ingredients that make it so powerful and timeless? Let's get into the first one.
The first secret ingredient is something called universality. And you can think of it like, well, it's kind of like a time machine for human feelings. It's the magic that lets a story written hundreds or even thousands of years ago connect directly with you, right here, right now.
And here's the thing that's just so incredible about it. While the clothes, the tech, the way people talk, all that stuff might feel ancient, the core human emotions are not. The search for who you are, the pain of losing someone, the messiness of love, these things don't have an expiration date. They're part of this shared experience we all have just by being human.
Yeah, this quote just nails it. We might not be Venetian generals running around in the 1600s, but that feeling of jealousy, that gut-wrenching, totally irrational emotion that Othello feels, oh, we get that. Even 400 years later. That right there, that's universality in action.
And this really shows you that bridge across time. A story from ancient Greece about fate and destiny can still hit you right in the chest today as you're trying to figure out your own life. The setting changes, the costumes change, but that core human struggle, it's exactly the same.
All right, let's move on to our second ingredient, aesthetic value. Now, if universality is the soul of a great story, then aesthetic value, that's its beautiful, carefully designed body. It's the pure artistry of the words themselves.
I mean, this is really the heart of it. In literature, language isn't just a tool to get an idea from the author's head to yours. The language is the art. The author is choosing every single word, every comma, the rhythm of every sentence to create a specific feeling, a specific sound, a specific effect.
And believe me, authors have this entire toolbox they get to play with. From the musical sound of alliteration to the chaotic beauty of a stream of consciousness passage that feels just like our own messy thoughts. All these techniques are there to make us feel the story in our bones, not just read it with our eyes.
Okay, ingredient number 3 is suggestiveness. And probably the best way to wrap your head around this is that classic iceberg analogy. In a really great story, what you see on the surface, the plot, is just the tiny little tip. The real weight, the real meaning, is all hidden down below.
This whole idea is powered by a concept called polysemy. It sounds complicated, I know, but all it means is that words and phrases can have lots of different layers of meaning. Literature doesn't just hand you the answers on a platter. No, it invites you into a conversation. It asks you to help create the meaning yourself.
So you've got the surface, right? What literally happens in the plot. But then you have the depths, where a simple road trip might actually be about finding yourself, or a sudden storm might represent a character's inner turmoil. The real magic happens when you, the reader, get to dive into those depths and figure it all out.
All right, our next ingredient is all about stimulation. And I love this analogy. Reading great literature is basically a workout for your mind and your heart. It's like a flight simulator for life. It lets you explore really complex situations and emotions from a place of safety. And it really works on 2 levels. On one hand, you have the intellectual challenge. It makes us look in the mirror, question what we believe, and see the world through someone else's eyes. And on the other hand, it gives us a safe arena to experience really powerful feelings. Fear, joy, grief, you name it.
There's actually a name for this emotional release: catharsis. It's an old idea, comes all the way from the philosopher Aristotle.
By going on a journey with a character and feeling their fear or their joy, we get to process those feelings ourselves and understand our own emotional world a little better. I mean, when you stop and think about it, that's an incredibly powerful thing for a book to be able to do.
Okay, we're at our final ingredient. Number 5, permanence. Why do we keep rereading the classics? Why do we still talk about books written 100 years ago? It's because true literature is like a time capsule. It's built to last. I absolutely love this distinction. News is essential, don't get me wrong, but it's for right now. Literature, because of all that depth and artistry we've been talking about, holds on to its value long after you know how the story ends. You can go back to it 5, 10, 20 years later and always find something new.
In fact, literature is maybe the best record we have of the Zeitgeist, another one of those fancy words, but it just means the spirit of the times. It captures the unspoken feelings, the anxieties, the hopes and values of an era in a way that no history textbook ever could. I mean, think about Jane Austen. When you read Pride and Prejudice, you're not just reading a love story. You are taking a deep dive into the social pressures, the class system, and the entire worldview of early 19th century England. You actually feel the spirit of that time.
So there you have it, the secret recipe. It's not just one thing, is it? It's this amazing combination of all 5 of these powerful ingredients. That timeless human connection, the pure beauty of the language, the hidden meanings waiting to be discovered, the challenge to our minds and our hearts, and of course, that incredible ability to last forever.
So now you know the recipe, but I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on. Think about a book that really, truly changed you, or one that has just stuck with you for years. Now that you know the ingredients, which ones do you think made it so unforgettable? Thinking about that might just change the way you read forever.